Hi once again, welcome to another Life Schools review. This time we'll be checking out a game from 1999. This is Bangai-O, developed by Treasure and released on the Nintendo 64 and yes, on the Dreamcast, 1999. The game begins with an animated introduction where we find out that bandits are disturbing our father, and so maybe they've even killed him, so it's up to us, basically a brother and sister team, to go out and fight crime. So just like many of these anime kind of manga games which appeared, this is Japanese inspired, and it was definitely inspired by Hover Attack, which came out on the NEC computers in 1984. Finally we get to that title screen. You can see Bangai-O, or however you pronounce that. You can start the game or check out those game options, and so you can see there are different control modes available. I'm actually using a hacked tapped version of this and using the PS2 controller, so I get to use both analog sticks, and I'm not quite sure whether you can use both analog sticks in this game on the Dreamcast, but that's what I'm actually using, a PS2 controller with remapped configured controls. Starting the game, we can enter our initials to load up our profile. It's me, so that saves inside the game. All you need to do is press the button and it says, yep, are you ready to load that profile? No problem. So it will load up. You can see we can move side to side to check out which levels that we've played already, and it will give us a graphical representation of the level as a screenshot. It will also give us our high score at the bottom and whatever name we've managed to enter for that high score. And you can see that we've completed a few levels already. Let's return back to level 1 and check this game out. At the start of the game, we will find ourselves playing as the male character, Ricky, and we will find our first helper, and by moving into these help boxes on every screen, it will give us some information, most of which is absolutely useless, but it will tell us about pressing the R button for an all-round attack. And so it says it would cost us some money. Well, we don't have any money at the moment, so these communication screens are a bit of a joke. On the very first level, things might start out being pretty quirky and mysterious, and the player has no idea what they're supposed to be doing at this point. But we'll be moving through this game as we get through it. But for now, the sound effects reveal that when we blow up these things on the landscape, they will blow up with immediate sound effects, and they will reveal a fruit behind, and if you blow only a small number of those up, that will reveal an orange, and we'll definitely be figuring out what all that fruit does a bit later on. my left analog stick I can fly around, and by pressing that right analog stick or one of the buttons on the keypad, that makes sure that we can fire in that direction, so we can fire in 360 degrees, and those yellow boxes that you saw me picking up are to restore my health. You can see there is a score on the top of the screen with our health underneath that, and we can also press one of the shoulder buttons. I think it's the left shoulder button or the left trigger, and we can swap characters. First character as missiles and the second character as this laser, which will rebound off things, which will come in very handy a bit later on. The aim of every level is to get through to the boss. At the end of it, it doesn't matter how much destruction you cause along the way, as long as you get to that boss, and then the boss will taunt you with a few words and say basically you are pathetic and you are nothing. So eventually, after all of this conversation, you'll then get to fight the boss, and the boss's health is in the top right corner, which goes down pretty rapidly at this stage. But all we need to do is to force that boss to land, and then we can fire directly into him. At the end of each mission we'll also get a breakdown of the explosions that we caused, the points that we got, the explosion bonus, and the score. See, we're trying that first level all over again with our second character, and you can see it's just as easy playing with that second character. I'm actually leaving all that health behind until I need that, and I think even that disappears if you leave that lying around. But you can see at the very top of the screen there are health generators, and they will generate health for us, and that's pretty easy. So you can use the buttons instead of the analog stick if you want to fire in a general direction, up, down, left or right. And you can see I'm using the buttons at the moment to fire directly onto target, or you can use the analog stick. And so now holding down the button, let's take out the boss and let's see if we got a better high score. That's the first stage done again. You can see we've got a freedom from injury bonus, which gives us a massive score. That gives us a new record, and that shows us beating up Godzilla in the background. Let's move on then to level 3, and let's introduce some music in the game, since this isn't copyright music, and let's see if we can figure out level 3. We are flying around a level. There will be certain generators where enemies will spawn with backpacks and flying jackets. You can see the red guys flying around the screen. They won't stop spawning until you've destroyed that generator. And the generators are takeoff pads. If you can destroy those generators, that's fantastic. Means once they're dead, and the level is absolutely clear once all those are destroyed. You can see we've now got full health and full energy, and hopefully if you destroy the final boss with full health and energy, it might even give us that bonus for not taking a scratch. I'm not quite sure, but I think you have to not take a scratch throughout the entire level to get that, and I think that's 100,000 points. That's well worth it. At the moment I'm simply milking up these goodies before we tackle the boss, which is just above where we are at the moment. And the conversations with the boss can usually be skipped 99% of the time, and you're hammering that fire button just to get through it. So let's lure the boss down to ground level again, and hopefully once he's down there we can lay into that guy and with this firepower it takes some time to knock him out. This is only the 3rd level, but you can see once he's down on the ground, this is a kind of a cheat to get rid of the bosses. Once they're down there, you can force bullets into them, and they will try to defend themselves, but because they are down on the ground, we can get them before they get us. So that's definitely a cheat mode to getting through most of the bosses. We are now being stomped by Godzilla because even though we've completed that level, we didn't get the high score, and so we didn't get that, unfortunately, and you can get mega high scores on each of these levels. Let's move now on to level 6. This is a base under construction. We'll find doors, and once you walk through those doors, they will snap shut on us, and you might find some door triggers as well. So at this stage, it's the art of moving through all of the enemies and destroying all of you can, so that you don't get blown up, and then having destroyed all the enemies, then we can work out the doors. Game comes with some great music tracks as well, and they will change periodically from level to level. It's great to hear those, and it adds some more fun to the game. Some of these levels are incredibly short, and it doesn't take that long at all to trip over the boss. In this case, the boss is flying around us in a spaceship, and sometimes if you aren't prepared for that and you don't have full health, then you can't do it. So what we're going to do is we're going to try that level again, I think. Oh no, moving on to level 8 now. And so on level 8 you'll find these levels get tougher as they go on, and you'll have to take your time, and you'll have to figure out what you're supposed to do in each case to get through it unscathed, because if you go through it gung-ho like this, you might find a lot of enemies on your tail, but by blowing up these mines it blows up some bonuses, and by pressing yet again that shoulder button we can release a massive volley attack onto our enemies. At the bottom of the screen you can see a 5, and that means that we've got 5 of those smart bomb things left, which will fire missiles in all direction, and if we have the other player selected, that will fire lasers in all direction. And how do you increase that meter? Well, when we collect things, that will reveal some fruit, and once we collect that fruit, that will then increase that meter. So you can see it's on level 4 at the moment. It's gone back up to level 5, so as we shoot things, that meter will go up, and that will give us some more smart bombs, and so that's some extra health collected now. You can see that we have revealed the boss, but we're having to defend ourselves against all these other enemies. So that's another stage completed. So let's move on now to level 10. And with each of these levels it will introduce a different play aspect to this game. Some of these levels are gung-ho, we can just march straight through and kill the enemies. Some of those sneak them up, some of those are mazes. So this one being a maze, I'm going to take my time. I'm going to use the female character now to bounce lasers off the walls and hopefully not get stuck on these mines, because if we get caught in that blast, of course we'll die. So you can see as we collect that fruit, that will give us some more power up, and that will be increased as we collect that. And right at the top of the screen you can see an explosion next to it, and you can also see the explosion has numbers as we destroy things, and that's a kind of accumulator. And so once we destroy things, it will give us a number of how many things that we've destroyed. And I think if that's over 50, then the fruits will change to a different fruit which is worth more. If it's worth more, then it means it gives us more energy. But also if you get maybe over 100 enemies together in one blast, that will change the fruit again to a pineapple. That will give us even more energy. And you can see we've got 5 smart bombs from collecting that fruit already. I think it's fantastic that we can use the lasers to bounce off walls, a bit like the Surround in Turrican 2. That means we can get the angles on the enemy, and we don't even have to go through into this information point. We can ignore that, and you can see a huge enemy in the middle of the screen. And so let's fire towards that. That will then blow up. That will give us some bonus score. So on these levels, it's definitely the art of getting rid of the respawning guys first of all, and that means that you can take out the level without being shot at, and then it gives us some time. It's not a massively healthy time limit, but it's healthy enough to do these levels. And if you know where to go and you know where the boss is, that's no problem. If you get lost, you'll find that you're going to run out of time, and definitely I've run out of time on these levels before now. Let's just get rid of these generators before we go any further, and get rid of the mines as well, and stay out of that destruction radius. We don't want to get killed at this stage. You can see the maze is fairly linear, and there are maybe, I don't know, 30-40 different levels in the game, and I've got to maybe level 18 with my playthrough of it. After you complete every level, it definitely gives us the impetus to play another one, to find out what it's like, to hear that different music, and to experience all that different gameplay on offer, and then we can lay into those guys. You can see a green orb is flashing on the screen. That's actually the enemy, and the green orbs are the easiest enemy in the entire game. Green enemies are actually stationary and they're fixed onto the wall, so as long as we can stand back and fire directly into them, they won't harm us as far as I know, and you can just dispatch those as quickly as you like. So the end of that level enemies on some of these stages are a joke. That's another high score, 153,950 points, and we got 85 explosions on the level. Moving on now to level 11. We can only view the map if we've already entered that stage and failed it, But if we enter the stage and fail it, we can actually view a map of the level which we can scroll around, and hopefully we can find where the end of level boss is. These levels aren't hard and you shouldn't really be shot at if you take your time through these, but definitely finding where those bosses are can be difficult. So you can see it gives us maybe 400 seconds in real time to get through this level. So that means I'm going to take my time, and I'm going to take my time to get rid of these guys, and the homing missiles definitely in this case help to get rid of the spawning guns which fire all over the place. And some of these levels contain puzzles. You can see there is a puzzle element here, and if you get the puzzle element wrong then you'll be trapped in the scenery and you won't be able to get out. And that's definitely happened to me before, and definitely once you start getting into these levels you'll find sometimes things will trap us in the scenery, definitely fall in blocks which has to be triggered in a certain order. So what I'm actually doing is sweeping and clearing the level first of all, and that means it's free from enemies, and that should hopefully mean that we can explore it a bit more and hopefully not run out of time. Sometimes it's pretty difficult to get the angles right on some of these guys, but having done so, it's better to do that than to waste energy. And you can continue forever. You can see there's some more enemies, some lasers now, and there will be different enemies on every level that you'll have to figure out how to get through them. Lasers aren't too much of a problem as long as you knock out the start turret of them, and then that means that they'll disappear. But you can see there is another area that's actually a jail. You can see the blue area, and we can't get through the blue area, and the enemies can't get out of it either. We can't shoot through it with the laser, but we can shoot through it with the homing missiles. You can see it just goes straight through that blue area, so you'll have to make use of that sometimes to get through some of these puzzles. So that's a bit of a jail. There's also red areas as well, where perhaps the lasers can get through but the smart missiles can't. So at the moment I'm struggling my way down to the bottom of that level, and yet again going in there without getting the armaments ready, it means we've just got our ass kicked. So it's back to the stalk 'em out section, and it's back to taking our time, and hopefully once it gets down to the last few seconds we can get through to that puzzle area, figure out what we're supposed to do. And some of these levels I've had to do many times by trial and error, and of course once you get those right it's a great feeling, and it means we can get through to the next one. So you can see some destructible blocks on the bottom. That's definitely the way that we're having to go, otherwise, well, we can kill this thing and bounce that off. You can see the laser power actually collects, and it's more powerful if you can collect that into a single beam. So that's handy to remember. And so let's get rid of these and get some more score, and that means that we can blow those mines up, and that should hopefully mean those destructibles disappear, and that opens up the door now to the second section of this level. This definitely is not the way to go. I'm trapped in this area. You can see that we need to get further down somehow, so let's follow that around and let's see if we can get further down somehow, and I suspect it's through here. So if you know where the exit is from the start of a level, you know which way to go and you won't get lost. So the start of this level is pretty much a dead end, so you have to go this way eventually, but you also have to trigger those mechanisms so that you don't get blocked. And so lateral thinking is involved with this game. You can't just fly around shooting everything, and that aspect is definitely the most fun. now discovered yet another boss that will kill us with that beam that's flying around. Luckily we can destroy it, and I think we can destroy everything that tries to kill us on these levels, which renders them harmless. But you can see we've really taken a dive now from the energy, and the blue boxes give us a small amount of energy back. But this is a death zone. If I blow up the wrong thing by mistake here, which I might have just done, then all those blocks will fall onto our heads like this, and that means that the level now is incompletable. We're now stuck, and we're going to have to reset this level and try that again. And that's definitely one of the downsides, and no amount of destruction will save us from those mistakes. We'll just have to remember not to do that in the future, and we're going to have to just press escape or whatever it is, press the start button, and we're going to have to get back and try that again. Moving on to a later level, this is level 23, so not quite sure how far I've got. I thought I got to level 18, but this one was 23, so this one is getting tougher now at this stage. You can see destroying those buildings earlier on to power up our smart bomb is the best thing to do. We've got 2 smart bombs available, and then on this level it gives us lots of respawning enemies, and that requires us to blow them up using all of our firepower. And you can see all those generators will generate guys if we don't blow those up. There is actually a quick way to get through this level, and that's definitely not the way to do it. That's the quickest way to die on that level. So let's try that again. Level 23. And so if you blow up loads of things with your smart bomb and get maybe 100 total in that explosion meter in the top middle of that screen, that will give us an extra smart bomb for free. So all we need to do is to blow up enough and we'll get another smart bomb, and then that means it's a recurring loop. We can then use that effect to get rid of all the rest of this level. Pretty difficult with the laser girl to turn that into reality, but if you use the other guy it's slightly easier. But it's slightly easier for me to aim at these targets with the laser girl, so that's what I'm using at the moment. And eventually we've still got 3 smart bombs, and that's given us one for free, so let's use those up and let's make our way through to the top, hopefully, of this level. As you can see, this game is incredibly fun and it's frantic, and it reminds me of Zone and the Enders 2 on the PS2, but in a 2-dimensional array. And so this being a 2D game, yes, this was possible on something like an Amiga 1200, but it came out on the N64, but I think the best version is on the Dreamcast. So let's try that level again, and hopefully let's make an easier job of it. some of these levels look like fun, then they definitely are, and by the time you get to this stage in the game, you'll find you'll have to employ all the tactics and all the tricks in the book that you've learnt so far in order to get through them and to get a good score. So this is another exploring level, so the first thing I'm probably going to do is to switch to the girl, because the girl makes these kind of levels so much easier. Even though the firepower is much weaker, at least you can get those angles, and that definitely really matters when you've got corridors full of guys waiting to kill us. So I have a healthy respect for Bangai-O, everything that it tried to do, and it's got that instant gameplay on offer, even though it seems mad and crazy at the start. It's got that one more try factor which makes this game unbelievably addictive, and so I give this game high marks and high praise for trying to do that. And definitely this 2D environment and the Japanese feel of this game feels brilliant, and I love the fact that once the enemies are dead, they're dead, so you can clear out all of these areas to your heart's content and then move around them very freely indeed. So this game has got lots and lots and lots of things on offer, as well as instant death if you wander around into them, and so you'll have to be careful sometimes, and you'll have to do some of these levels by the book, and that means having to learn the book and having to go around them and find out what you can do and what you can't do. And some of these levels, like this one, have multiple paths that you can choose. Unfortunately, I can't get through those blue barriers with the laser, and so you can see using the smart bomb in a tight situation means that we died. So thank you very much.